All right. Welcome to the first ever Mega Awesome Dynasty podcast, episode 1. We are going to be talking about an integrated offense and defense IDP mock draft today that we're going to be going through with one of the owners from the league. This podcast basically serves one specific league and the 12 owners who make up that league. But if you're someone who finds this podcast, I hope you can take something from it that you're going to find useful. This is going to be my first time ever hosting a podcast, so this is going to be absolutely terrible, but we will see how it goes. So to give you a little background on the league, this league is in year 16. It's a 12-team, one quarterback, full point PPR, and full deep IDP rosters. We're going to bring in our guest for today, which is Justin Fearr, Local Liabilities in the league, and one of our newest owners. He came in last year after our draft, so he hasn't actually had a draft of his own yet. And this is going to be his first draft. So we're going to turn it over to Justin. He's going to go through, we're going to go through 2 rounds of this mock draft. We're going to talk about each of the teams, their team needs, their picks, and then I'm going to give some thoughts on each pick. So, Justin, how's it going today?
Not too bad. Kind of excited. As you're, or like you, this is your first time hosting a video. Mine, or this for me is going to be my first time even beyond a video. So, like you, I'm excited to get into it. First pick at the 1.1, we have win, lose, or booze. And I did some Microsoft Excel spreadsheeting and got everyone's team needs based on corrected value over replacement starters they have just for Mega League itself.
Right. So why don't you explain that process real quick to people so they know what you mean by corrected value over replacement?
So I referenced a Dynasty Nerds article where they take you through using Excel formulas to calculate league specific value over replacement starters, which for Mega example, we start 4 wide receivers as well as 4 linebackers. So it takes into account how many starters at each position we have, as well as, who out of all the players actually warrant a start in Mega. So beyond that, it also takes into account players finishing in the same spots year after year. So say Christian McCaffrey, finishing RB1 back-to-back years, just as an example, whatever. And that would give us the corrected value over replacement. And then I take Dynasty League Football's ADP, plug that into the corrected value for each position. And we went through and assessed how everyone's team was, got everyone's team needs. And that's kind of how that was working.
Awesome. So yeah, for Win, Lose, or Booze, who is also one of our newest owners, he came in last year at the same time as you. So what do you got for him?
So at the 1-1 for Win, Lose, or Booze, his team needs came out to be biggest at wide receiver, linebacker, defensive tackle, quarterback, running back, tight end, safety, and defensive end. So being at the 1-1, best player on the board that also hits a team need for him is Ja'Marr Chase out of LSU.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great call for him. I actually have his team needs. I think he needs 3 wide receivers. I don't think 1 wide receiver is going to cut it for him. He's going to definitely need 3 different wide receivers. So starting off with Ja'Marr Chase at the 1.01, I think, depending on who you are, some people could say Najee's the 101. Some people could say Ja'Marr Chase is the 101. Depending on who you are, maybe you think Kyle Pitts is the 101, but I think Ja'Marr Chase is the right call for Win, Lose, or Booze at the 1.01. He has CEH, he has Josh Jacobs, and he has Cam Akers on his roster. So I don't think Najee is going to be the way he goes.
Right. And it's funny. It's interesting you mentioned that Kyle Pitts can be viewed at the 101 because in another league, rookie draft, I was actually expecting to get Kyle Pitts fall to me here within the first, few picks, and someone traded up to the 1-1 to get Kyle Pitts and kind of just threw a wrench in all my plans on that one. So
right. All right, so we have I'm tanking at the 1.02. What do you have for I'm tanking?
So for I'm tanking at the 1-2, his team needs mostly stick to quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. And being here at the 1-2, debatable between these top two guys, Jamar Chase and Najee Harris, is what I'm going to do for I'm tanking to hit his running back team need, running back out of Alabama.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And depending on who you are, um, you might actually have Travis Etienne as your running back one in this draft class. And if somebody wanted to take Travis Etienne right here over Najee Harris, I could not fault him for doing that. Um, so Najee Etienne, whatever your personal preference is. Me, I'm probably taking Etienne as my running back one over Najee Harris. And that's not just me being a homer because I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. That's actually me thinking that in my grading system, Etienne just graded out better as a prospect than Najee did. But there's a couple of things that Najee didn't do at the pro day. He didn't even do a pro day. So
Right.
we don't have that information to plug into the spreadsheet for him. Uh, and if we did, he'd probably be a lot closer to Etienne. But I still like Etienne a little bit better. But if he wants to go Najee Harris here at the 1.02, I'm fine with that. I think like I said before, I think you can make a case for Najee being the 1.01. So if he needs a running back, I think which he does, he is based on your spreadsheet that you put together, he has the 10th best running back roster in the league. So he needs to address that position and get that fixed. And I think Najee Harris is the way to go.
Right. So moving on here at the 1-3, we have all about the Bosamans, another new guy in the league, recent joinee, actually. I want to say a couple months ago, if I'm not
Yep,
mistaken.
he's the newest owner. He just came in this year, so we're looking forward to uh, seeing him in the league and seeing what he does with his first draft this year. And his first pick is up at the 1.03.
Right. And for him, this is where I have Travis Etienne going. For Bosamans, his team needs also hit at quarterback, running back, defensive end. So Travis Etienne hitting his running back need. And like you said, between Najee and Etienne, they could pretty, cycle back and forth depending on who you're
Right.
asking. I like Najee just more for that Steelers workload. Mike Tomlin's been known to use one back if he can get it, and Najee is
Sure.
that big boy to go behind the line. But for Bosamans, I think he takes ETN at the 1-3.
Yeah. And based on your spreadsheet that you put together, he has the eighth best running back room in the league. So I think he needs to go running back here and address that situation. We do see that Travis Etienne right now on Dynasty League football has a rookie ADP of fourth overall. So right behind Najee at 1, Jamar Chase at 2, and Kyle Pitts at the 1.03 in terms of their rookie ADP. So Travis Etienne at 4, him going to Boseman's at 3 makes sense considering his team needs.
Sweet. So moving on at the 1-4, we have Spiteful Messiahs. Team needs for him, tight end right off the bat, wide receiver, defensive end. So being that tight end is his number one team need, Kyle Pitts is here with the perennial tight end prospect. We got him going to Atlanta with Julio, we know, being traded out, opening a lot of door for targets.
Possibly right.
Him having the dual position capability of wide receiver and tight end. I think he's a player that's going to produce, sooner than other tight ends that have come into the league. So here at the 1-4, I have Spiteful Messiahs taking Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting pick. And when I saw this pick, when you sent me your mock draft and I saw this pick, I thought, that's an interesting pick because it makes sense, right? Because like you said, tight end is his number one team need because he has the worst tight end roster in the league based on your corrected value of a replacement spreadsheet. He's got tight end 12. And we just mentioned that Kyle Pitts is the third overall rookie in Dynasty League Football's May ADP. We haven't seen June's ADP yet, but in the May ADP, Kyle Pitts is third overall, which is pretty crazy for a tight end that we see that. So it makes sense, right? Like team need plus ADP should equal Kyle Pitts to Spiteful Messiahs, which shout out Matt Ron. He is the original commissioner of this league. So it makes a lot of sense. But we also know that based on past draft experience, Matt typically likes to go running back. If he can go running back, he likes to go running back. So I think there's a case here for him taking Javonte Williams, running back for the Denver Broncos at the 1.04. But I wouldn't fault him for taking Kyle Pitts at 1.04.
I agree. So moving on to the 1-5, we have Crown Royal Knights. Team needs for him: running back, tight end, linebacker, down the list. So if Spiteful did decide to go your route and take Javonte Williams, I could see Crown taking Kyle Pitts here. But
Right.
being how I have Pitts going, before Crown's pick, I have Crown hitting his running back need with Javonte Williams, running back out of North Carolina. There's definitely talk of him in the top three between him, Najee, Etienne, however you want to order them. Javonte split work with Michael Carter. Javonte was just a lead back because he was the better producing back. Not to say Michael Carter wasn't good, but to get a top three back in the draft and have it be a team need, I'm taking Javonte Williams for Crown at the 1-5.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but the running backs in this draft class really fall off a cliff after Javonte Williams. Sure, there's Trey Sermon and there's Michael Carter, and there's a couple of other guys, but really it just falls off a cliff after Javonte Williams. You've got the big three: you've got Najee, you've got Travis Etienne, you've got Javonte Williams, and after that it's just bad. So we know that Crown needs a running back. His running back ranking is running back 11 per your spreadsheet. He needs to get that position fixed, and Javonte Williams would be a great addition for him if he was able to snatch up Javonte Williams at the 1.05.
So moving on to the 1-6, we have Kicker Lover, the man who loves kickers.
He does love his kickers.
Team needs for Kicker Lover are safety, wide receiver, running back, defensive tackle, down the line. I have the second wide receiver off the board as Jalen Waddle to Mr. Kicker Lover at 1-6. Jalen Waddle out of Alabama is getting a lot of Tyreek Hill comparisons. Everyone likes to talk and compare everyone to everyone, but Jalen Waddle is the most Tyreek Hill compared receiver we've seen since Tyreek Hill. So I have Kicker Lover with a team need of a wide receiver, taking Waddle at the 1-6.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me ask you a question. Why Waddle over Devontae Smith? With Devontae Smith being on the board here, what makes you think Kicker Lover goes Jalen Waddle over Devontae Smith?
I think that just comes down to personal preference between the two for me. Devontae Smith is a short guy. He's going to a bigger competition in the NFL. Not to say he can't do it. And then Jalen Waddle just being that burner, you really don't. He doesn't need to have much production in a game. He just needs to have consistent production, so he can catch one or two passes for the deep bomb touchdown or however it needs to be. And he's a guy I think that can do it. Being paired up with Tua, he'll have somewhat of a connection from Alabama. And like I said, Devontae Smith just being the lesser guy in my just personal preference.
That's fair. So yeah, I mean, we know again, Kicker Lover's wide receiver room is wide receiver 10 out of 12. So he definitely needs to do something to address those wide receivers, whether he wants to go with the Heisman winning Devontae Smith or if he wants to go your route with Jalen Waddle. Either way, you're right. I think he needs to address the wide receiver position there at the 1.06.
All right, at the 1.7, we have Crown Royal Knights again, making his second debut in the first round. His running back need, or his team needs, were running back, tight end, linebacker. He addressed running back with his earlier pick with Javonte Williams. So with this next pick, I do have him not, I guess I do have him waiting on his next team needs of tight end and linebacker, just because you can get those valued later. So I have him making somewhat of a strength pick, I guess, with Devontae Smith, the one we were just talking about. So wide receiver out of Alabama, Heisman Trophy winner, prolific route running. Like, the guy's not good when I was comparing to Jalen Waddle, but I think Crown Royal takes Devontae Smith and just strengthens the strength in his wide receiver room.
Yeah, and you've got him right in the middle of the pack as far as your spreadsheet goes with corrected value of a replacement. He's wide receiver 6. And so yeah, it is a little bit of a strength for him going Devontae Smith here, but I think you also have to take the best player on the board at the time, which I think is Devontae Smith, which according to Dynasty League Football's May ADP, Devontae Smith is number 6 and Jalen Waddle is 7. So those are interchangeable, whichever way that happens to fall in our draft. Hey everybody, we're back. We had a little bit of a hiccup with the Zoom, but we are back and we are starting from the 1.08 with I'm taking second pick that he acquired from Vontae Mack no matter what. So Justin, who do you have? I'm taking Taylor Tubbs at 1.08.
So at the 1.8, I have this man taking Trevor Lawrence, first quarterback off the board. When you look at how he stacks up to the corrected value of a replacement between everyone, he has the worst quarterback room. He's sitting with Joe Burrow, who has maybe one knee, maybe 1.5 knees. And then he has Trubisky, which is a backup this year in Buffalo for a year. And I think he could start somewhere next year. But point is, this year he's got, 3, maybe a knee and a half worth of starting knees in his quarterbacks. So I have him taking Trevor Lawrence here at the 1.8 to hit a quarterback need for him.
Yeah, and that's fair. We see in Dynasty League Football's May ADP right now that Trevor Lawrence is 9th overall off the board after Rashad Bateman at 8. And you mentioned his quarterback room, his quarterback needs, and I think that's fair. Typically in the past we don't see too many quarterbacks coming off the board in the first round. We had Andrew Luck go in this league at the 1.05 back in his rookie year. We don't see too many rookie quarterbacks go in the first round, but Trevor Lawrence is different. And if we believe he's going to be, the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck or since Peyton Manning, the 1.08 seems reasonable.
And I'd just like to point out this guy hasn't lost a game in high school or college. So I can see him coming into the NFL and starting 0-1. And I'll laugh a little when people start talking about is, Trevor Lawrence going to be a bust and whatnot. Because, he's bound to lose a game at some point. And he's got the Peyton Manning comp, and even Peyton Manning was dog water his first year. So
as a Jaguars fan, I could tell him he better get used to losing real fast. So it's coming. Hopefully they can turn things around down there. I'm not incredibly optimistic. I don't like what Urban Meyer is doing there, but that's a conversation for another day. So back to the mock draft and your 1.09.
So the 1.9 is all about the Bosamans. And team needs for him are, quarterback, running back, defensive end again. He took his running back need with his earlier pick with Travis Etienne. So here I have him hitting another lead or another team need, which is quarterback for him. He's got the eighth best among everyone, or eighth best. There we go. I was thinking right. Eighth best out of everyone in our league with quarterback room. He's got Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Teddy Bridgewater. 2.5 starters at least. So I think he takes Justin Fields with this pick. Shore up his quarterback room a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. We see Trevor Lawrence, or not Trevor Lawrence. We actually see Justin Fields right now at quarterback 3 in ADP, 16 overall, coming off the board right after Trey Lance at 15. So, your thoughts on why you have Justin Fields going over Trey Lance?
I like the Bears situation for Fields over the 49ers situation for Lance because I think Jimmy is still the starter. The only healthy season Jimmy Garoppolo had, they went to the Super Bowl. So I think they're going to, roll with Jimmy until they can't roll with Jimmy and have to throw Lance in. Otherwise, I think they're going to, wait and develop Lance into a better starter when the time comes for him to start. Fields, I think, is going to beat Andy Dalton out day one. Bears have a better defense. They got Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks. They got a. I like the situation better for Fields than I do for Lance out the gate. Plus, there was talk of, the Niners taking Fields at their pick at 3. And so my question to you would be, say Fields was the 49ers pick at 3. How do you think that would affect Fields' fantasy value? Do you think there would be drafts where he'd be taken above Trevor Lawrence, who went to the Jaguars instead?
Yeah, I think if Fields had been to San Francisco at 3, I think it would have been wheels up, everybody drafting Justin Fields. He definitely would have been over Trey Lance. And here's the thing. Here's the thing with Trey Lance is a team does not give up what the 49ers gave up to move up to a drafted quarterback like Trey Lance and then sit on him. Right. So I think we're going to see him sooner than later. I don't even know if Garoppolo even actually starts a game for San Francisco ever again. I think it's possible we see Trey Lance from week 1. That's very possible. But it is also conceivable that, we see Jimmy for a few weeks and then Trey Lance from there. In Chicago, they're very adamant that Andy Dalton is their starter. They promised him the starting job when he came in. I know that was before they realized they were going to get somebody like Justin Fields, but they promised him the starting job, and they are still sticking with that. They're still saying Andy Dalton is our starter. So I think it might be flip-flop from what you're saying. I think it might be possible that we see Trey Lance as a starting quarterback in this league before we see Justin Fields as a starting quarterback in this league. But either way, I think either one is fine. I don't know that I'm taking a second quarterback in this draft other than Trevor Lawrence in the first round. But with that being said, Bo Simmons does not have another pick. I don't think he has another pick in the second round. So this is his last chance.
Yeah. So if you wanted to take a quarterback, he'd have to take it now. And right. I would personally take Fields. And I agree with what you're saying in the opportunity that Trey Lance starts over Fields. I don't know, his personal preference. I think they maybe start Andy Dalton week 1, because they promised.
Right.
And then Fields maybe 2, 3, 4.
Oh yeah. Dalton's not starting for very long. They promised him the job.
So they could start at the same time. That'd be interesting too.
They could start him for one snap and say, hey, he started, and then they're going to pull in Justin Fields, Yeah. So, hey, we didn't lie to you. We promised you a start, and you started technically. I don't know if they're going to do that, but no. So yeah, this is his only opportunity. If he wants a quarterback, he better get it now. And I don't really have a problem with somebody taking another quarterback in the first round. It's just I think the last time again we ever saw two quarterbacks go in the first round in a mega draft was Andrew Luck's rookie year, him coming off the board at 1.05, and then we had RG3 come off the pick off the board at the very next pick at the 1.06. So I think that's the last time we've ever seen two quarterbacks go in the first round of our draft. But if he wants a quarterback, yeah, he better get him right now. So this is the pick he got from. This was D's Nuts pick originally at the 1.09. D's traded it to Das Raiderhawk. Das Raiderhawk then traded it to All About the Boseman's Baby. So at the 1.10 to 110, we have we have your first pick in the draft, Local Liabilities. So we're not gonna let people know whether this is your actual pick or whether this is some smoke that you're blowing. But for the purpose of this mock draft, who do you have yourself taking at the 1.10?
So like you said, I obviously don't want to give away what I'm doing, or maybe I do, you'd never know. But if you look at my team needs, running back is glaring, linebacker, defensive end, tight end. So I need a running back here for sure, but where the running back value sits on the board, I don't think I would take one here. So if I was going to put a player in this spot, I would put Rondell Moore, just because for a strength pick, I'm sitting not too bad on my receivers. I have the 7th best room. So mid pack. So kind of like Crown earlier, this is, I guess, semi-strength pick for me with Rondell Moore.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. Rondell Moore is, according to Dynasty League Football's May ADP, he is ranked 13th overall with an ADP of 12.9. He's right behind Terrace Marshall, Elijah Moore, and Michael Carter. So, pre-draft we saw him considerably a little bit higher in ADP, so he's slipped a little bit. But I like his landing spot. I like him going to Arizona with, that spread offense that they run in Arizona. We know that, maybe not know, but we suspect that Fitz is definitely not coming back this year. And sure, they have, Hopkins and Christian Kirk, and they just brought in AJ Green. But I like what Rondell Moore can bring to that team, and I think if you went with Rondell Moore at the 110, I think that would be a good move for you. So up at the 111 is Crown Royal Knight's 3rd pick in the first round. And this pick is from Das Raiderhawk's original pick. So he finished in 2nd place last year. And who do you have Crown going with at the 111?
So I have Crown with his team needs as running back, tight end, and linebacker. Both tight end and linebacker, I think you can get value later. Taking any right now is still kind of a reach. So I have him going, I have him waiting on tight end because he can get value later. And he already addressed his running back need earlier in the draft. So I have him taking a linebacker here. This is where I have Micah Parsons coming off the board, linebacker out of Penn State. Number 1 conversation linebacker of this draft, elite speed, drafted by Dallas to help shore up their whole defensive unit. They took a couple linebackers. So I think Micah Parsons is a good pick for here at the 110 for Crown.
Yeah, and for those of you checking this out that are not familiar with this league, it is a deep IDP league. We do start 4 linebackers. Our linebacker scoring system, they score a lot like running backs do, and when you start 4 of them, you quickly start to realize how important linebackers are for overall success in this league. And we typically start seeing linebackers go pretty high in some of these drafts. We've seen linebackers go as high as the 1.03, which is where Devin White was drafted. back in 2019. We saw Roquan Smith go at the 1.04. So Micah Parsons going at the 111 as the first IDP off the board. I think it's a good call. He does have the 10th worst linebacker room, according to your spreadsheet in our league. And I think getting Micah Parsons at the 111 is a good value. Dynasty League Football has him ranked as the linebacker 2 in this draft class, which right now I don't necessarily agree with. He's been linebacker 1 since day 1 in this process. He's still linebacker 1 for me. Don't overthink this. It's Micah Parsons. He is the linebacker 1 in this draft class. And I think Crown Royal would be getting a good value there at the 111 if he was able to get Micah Parsons.
Sweet. So moving on to the 112 is back to me.
It is, and this is the pick that it moved around quite a bit. It was originally my pick as last year's champion. Subtle flex there on my part. It passed to I'm tanking and D's nuts, and now it's your pick. And who are you taking at the 112?
So again, my team needs are running back, linebacker. I didn't address any of those earlier with the Rondell Moore pick. I still feel like I can get, my team needs later if I if I was here and the draft value went this way. So I would just plug in Elijah Moore at the 112. Good overall receiver out of Mississippi. Like I said, it'd be another semi-strength pick for me. And he goes to the Jets, who have an aged Jamison Crowder, who has had offseason talk of, either being traded before the season starts or by the trade deadline. And beyond Crowder, they don't really have anyone who's proven. They got Denzel Mims. They got, Elijah Moore now. They got, Chris Herndon at tight end still. They drafted Kenny Ebola. So they don't really have anyone who's proven yet. And I think Elijah Moore could step in and even be a good number 2, even if Crowder is still there. So.
Well, they do have, and he's slipping my mind right now. The Tennessee, Corey Davis.
Oh yeah.
They do have Corey Davis there.
I do like Corey Davis there too.
And they have the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver.
Marvin Jones. Yeah, that dinosaur.
No, not Marvin Jones. They brought over the guy from Jacksonville. Why can't I think of his name right now? Let's see, where's he at? I
can't think of it either.
Yeah, I must have cut him because he was on my team. I don't see him on my team anymore. I can't think of his name, but he's coming over from Jacksonville. But you're right. I'm not sure Crowder's actually on this roster in a week. We're recording this on May 31st. We know a lot of players are going to get cut with the June 1st designations. I think Crowder could be one of those guys that we see out of a job here real soon. Elijah Moore is May ADP rookie ranking of 11, ADP of 11.50, just ahead of Michael Carter and Rondell Moore. You took Rondell Moore at your 110 pick. Now you're taking Elijah Moore at the 112. And you might actually have to rename your team more and more.
More and more. Yeah.
More and more. Speaking of your team name, you have a great last name for a fantasy football team. Why is your team name not something related to fear?
So my last name's actually pronounced Fair, but it's just one of those last names that you've heard every which way and you just kind of go with whatever people want to say.
Right.
So I've heard Fear, I've heard Fiar, I've heard Ferrari. I've heard it all. So I like having witty team names, but I like usually going with something I can string together on my team, but local, like joining Mega, this being my first year in, I was kind of hopping in. Local Liabilities, I use that, random places. So I'll figure something out, or I might just roll with it just now that it's, stapled in.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Or you're just more and more now.
Yeah,
You're like
maybe.
a law firm kind of.
Yeah. Oh
So
God.
all right.
If I start winning, I'll be the law firm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's jump into the second round. Maybe let's see if we can get through the second round maybe a little bit faster than we got through the first round. We're gonna jump back in with win, lose, or booze at the 2.01. And who do you have for him at the 2.01?
So here at the 2.01 is win, lose, or booze. He had a big team need at wide receiver, linebacker, and defensive tackle. His only other pick was the 1-1, and he took Jamar Chase. Rashad Bateman is a player I think we can see fall, similar to how this mock is going, just because of his landing spot in
Yeah,
the Baltimore
that's
offense. A
just
lot of
awful.
questions.
Just
A lot of
atrocious.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of questions, and they did also draft Tylan Wallace, so they did make an attempt to brighten up this receiving room, even though Bateman is a really great raw prospect. But I do see Bateman being taken here at the beginning of the second round by win, lose, or booze, just to help with his team need. Starting out with Jamar Chase and Rashad Bateman is not bad.
Now I could be wrong. I but doesn't win, lose, or booze already have Hollywood Brown?
Yeah, but and I'm typically not one to stack teammates, but
Right.
with the Raven offense already being a small pie, I don't think Marquise Brown is going to be a long-term piece just because he hasn't proven much already. And I like Rashad Bateman over Marquise Brown anyway. So if I were him, I would try to flip Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. If he actually went Bateman here, because Bateman's got an ADP of 1 point, uh, it, eighth overall, 8.60 ADP. If he takes Bateman here, which I think is a good value at the 2.01, despite the fact that we hate his landing spot, um, which I was so mad about the landing spot. I flipped my chair, cut the back of my leg. That's how mad I was at the Rashad Bateman landing spot because I loved Rashad Bateman so much, and it just killed his any value that he had going to Baltimore. But yeah, it would make sense for him to take Rashad Bateman here and maybe try to flip Hollywood Brown, um, off of his team. Or even if he keeps Hollywood Brown, I'm not opposed to having two wide receivers from the same team. It's just not ideal for bye weeks. So
Right.
uh we are back up to the 2.02 with I'm tanking Taylor Tubbs. Who do you have for Taylor at the 2-2?
So at the 2-2 with I'm tanking, he did have his earlier picks where he took Najee and Trevor Lawrence to help with his team needs at both running back and quarterback. So his third team need being wide receiver, I have him waiting on and actually going with Trey Sermon at the 2-2 to go along with his running back need. Going Trevor, having Najee and Sermon to add to his little running back room value he has, sitting at the 10th best. This is sure to bump him up a couple spots.
Right. Now, we do actually see Trey Sermon's May ADP of being 14 overall, which is the 2.02. So it's fair to assume that he could go 14th overall, but he's actually two spots behind Michael Carter, who's still on the board. So why Trey Sermon over Michael Carter?
So the Jets still have Tevin Coleman, and you can still argue that Michael Carter was taken on day 3, even though it was, right at the brink. That takes a couple picks the day before to
Right.
change, and he could have been a day 2 pick. But the Shanahan offense has proven to be valuable for whatever running back is starting that day, regardless. And so with the recent news of Jeff Wilson getting some damage to his knee and probably going to miss till November, I think. I like Trey Sermon in the Shanahan offense over Michael Carter out the gate when they're still getting a new offense put together with Zach Wilson in the Jets.
Right.
So I have, like I said, I have him going Trey Sermon here at the 2-2.
Yeah, and that day 3 draft capital for Michael Carter at the 4.02 to the Jets wasn't ideal because we like to see draft capital on day 1 or day 2. That does matter for these running backs. In terms of my process for running backs, I had Michael Carter hitting on 5 out of 8 of the analytics that I look at for running backs, and Trey Sermon actually hitting on only 4 out of the 8. And he was only actually drafted a few spots higher than Michael Carter at 325. You're right. We have seen Shanahan's offense going all the way back to his dad with Terrell Davis and different running backs like that be successful in that Shanahan system. I like Trey Sermon. I don't know that I like him better than Michael Carter. But if somebody wanted to go Trey Sermon over Michael Carter, I could not fault them definitely for doing that. Me personally, I probably like Michael Carter a little bit more. I think if I'm drafting somebody from that San Francisco room or San Francisco draft class, I might take a flyer on Elijah Mitchell, who was their 6th round pick, instead of Trey Sermon at his current ADP. I think Elijah Mitchell's the better value. It could be a situation that we saw with Green Bay a few years ago where maybe Elijah Mitchell is Aaron Jones and Trey Sermon is Jamal Williams. That could be in the range of outcomes that we see for the San Francisco 49ers running back situation. I did have Elijah Mitchell even score higher in my system than Trey Sermon. So we'll see. I think again, if he goes Trey Sermon, I can't fault him for going Trey Sermon at 14 because that's his ADP. It's 14. So let's move on to.
I do agree on
Yeah,
your Elijah Mitchell take, because in
right,
deeper drafts you are able to get Elijah Mitchell pretty late compared to,
right.
like
Maybe
we're talking
4th or
about
5th
the
round.
value of
Yeah,
the San Fran offense. But just because they gave Trey Sermon the draft capital, I think between the two, if the door was open, he would get first crack.
yeah,
And as long as he can, keep the ball rolling, like I said, San Fran likes to give their backs the world. So
yeah. Well, they also like to use it.
either,
They also like
either
to
one
use
of
a
those backs
committee
he'd like
too.
to go
So
with.
yeah. Um, all right, so we got D's nuts up at the 2.03. And owner D'Angelo Ramos has his first pick of the draft. And who do you have him going at the 2.03?
So this is D's first pick. Like we were saying, his team needs are linebacker, tight end, and quarterback. He actually traded away linebacker Fred Warner to Bosamins, the 49er fan, and he traded me Jalen Hurts. So he's responsible for his own team need here. But
Right.
I have him taking Trey Lance just to hit one of those, quarterback out of North Dakota. We brought it up beforehand. The San Fran situation he's in. I think Jimmy plays until he's not playing no more. You think Trey Lance starts out the gate. So
Right.
either way, I think Trey Lance is a good QB3 off the board here, going to D's, who needs some help in his quarterback room outside of Kyler Murray and Derek Carr.
Yeah, based on your spreadsheet, you have him at quarterback 6 right now for his quarterback situation, which is fine. He's got the 8th worst linebacker situation in the leagues though. So maybe he goes linebacker here. Maybe he goes with the next best linebacker on the board, whether it's Jamin Davis, Zaven Collins, something like that. But yeah, Trey Lance here, that's fine. I can't fault him for taking a quarterback here at the 2.03. So let's move on to Spiteful Messiahs at the 2.04. And who do you have Matt taking at the 4th pick in the 2nd round?
So Spiteful being the one who took Kyle Pitts earlier, hitting on his tight end need. His next need is wide receiver. So I have him actually going Terrace Marshall here, wide receiver out of Louisiana State out of LSU to the Panthers. I like his landing spot here. Back in college, he was a wide receiver 3 behind Jamar Chase and Bateman. He goes to Carolina, where he's going to be the wide receiver 3 behind DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson.
And reunited with Joe Brady.
And united with Joe Brady, so he has that connection. Terrence Marshall's one of the receivers in this draft that actually has the outside body receiver type. And there's been talk of Carolina moving DJ Moore more into the slot, which in my mind puts Robbie Anderson and Terrace Marshall playing on the outside. So we'll see how that goes. But I think Spiteful takes Terrace Marshall here to hit another team need.
Yeah, and I agree. He's got a May ADP of the 110, so he's supposed to be a first round pick. If he slips down to the 204, I think Matt can't smash draft fast enough on Terrace Marshall at the 204 if he slips that far. Terrace Marshall has, a great prospect profile at 6'2", 205. He's definitely got that alpha size that we like to look at. He's got, a breakout age in the 86th percentile. So yeah, I think Terrace Marshall is a great pick at the 2.04. And we are back on Crown Royal Knights. Tim Quantrell, his first pick in the second round. And what do you have for Tim?
So for Crown Royal Knights here, his team needs have been running back, tight end, and linebacker, which he's hit previously on already with the Micah Parsons pick and the Javonte Williams pick. I have him taking Michael Carter here, just hitting his running back room again. And like we talked about earlier, between Michael Carter and Trey Sermon, it's debatable which one you'd like to take first. So like I said, I think he takes Michael Carter here, the last kind of running back in the second tier before it falls off to, the next one, which is got some room in it. So Michael Carter.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. You also had him taking Javonte Williams in the first round, so he's getting the other North Carolina running back here, so he's going to have both of them. We already talked about Michael Carter, my thoughts on Michael Carter, how I feel about Michael Carter in that situation. And he definitely needs the running back help. That's one of his biggest needs. Running back room ranked 11th out of 12. So he's got to fix that situation there. And I think Michael Carter is a great option for him at the 2.05. So we are back on.
I will add, if I have a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was the talk of Javonte Williams and Michael Carter splitting work. So, one got more production than the other. One wasn't on field as much. But when you look at the Alabama offense, for example, when they have Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Jalen Waddle, they got all these players that are number one draft picks normally year after year. Players are only going to be able to produce when the opportunity presents itself. And so Michael Carter, I think, is a really good back. And like we said, easily could have been a day 2 pick. He's walking into a situation where, at best he has to beat out Tevin Coleman, which I think he can do. Tevin Coleman's still going to get his opportunity because he is more, bigger. I think they use him more on the goal line for a few random annoying carries. Michael Carter, I think, is a great pick here.
Yeah, and you know what? I've been saying I think Michael Carter is the discount Javonte Williams. I think there's really not that big of a drop off I don't see between Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. I do like Javonte Williams better. But for getting him a whole round later, that's a discount that you're getting from Michael Carter. And I just think that's a fantastic value to be getting Michael Carter at the 2.05 when we see his May ADP at 112, which is the final pick in the first round. For him to be getting Michael Carter almost halfway now through the second round, I think is a fantastic value for Crown Royal Knights. So Kicker Lover up at the 2.06, and you have him taking Brian Dalton's first pick in the second round.
Yeah.
Is it a kicker? Is it a kicker?
It is.
That would be fantastic.
Free agent mega kicker.
We should have given him a kicker in the first round too, because I know he would have enjoyed that. That because he's a Raiders fan, right? And
Yeah,
Al Davis drafted a kicker in the first round, so why not? Why not draft a kicker in the first round?
I'd take the Vegas odds.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, no, I have him. I have him going with Kadarius Toney here. It hits a wide receiver team need for him. Kadarius Toney's coming out of Florida, where it was him and Kyle Pitts being thrown the ball by Kyle Trask. He goes to the Giants. Um, they have an interesting wide receiver room. It's crowded, but they don't have a lot of big names. They got Darius Slayton, they got Sterling Shepard still, they got John Ross, they released Golden Tate, and they got Kenny Galladay still that they signed, that they've actually paid money to bring in.
right.
So I think Kadarius Toney's an interesting pick in an NFL draft and here for him, just because Urban Meyer did say if Kadarius Toney was available, he would have taken him over ETN, which
Hey, don't
tells
get me
me
started there because that just makes me lose all faith that Urban Meyer even has any clue what he's doing.
right. And he
Uh,
either
he,
has no clue whatsoever, or he's amazing, and that would tell me that Kadarius Toney has more gadget ability than ETN. So you never
yeah,
know.
no,
They have
he
a
just has no clue what he's doing. He's going to set
yeah.
Jacksonville back like 30 years, if that's even possible. But yeah, let's not get me going on what Urban Meyer's, how he's ruining my team down there in Jacksonville. Kadarius Toney at the 2.06 is fine. Um, I'm not taking Kadarius Toney if I have the pick at 2.06. Um, but I don't fault somebody else for taking Kadarius Toney at 206. He's got the first round draft capital. That's important. We've seen how important draft capital is. And taking him over anybody else right now, nobody else has that first round draft capital. You can't take Amon-Ra St. Brown, who went in the fourth round. You can't take De'Ami Brown. You can't take Nico Collins. You can't take any of these guys. Tutu Atwell, second round. Um, I think Kadarius Toney's the last of the first rounders, right? So it makes sense.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the draft capital. So um, I cannot fault anybody for that. Win, lose, or booze is back on the clock for his second pick in the second round that he acquired from Smoking Jay Cutler. And what do you have Kenny Williams doing at the 2.07?
So with this man's team needs being wide receiver and linebacker, and his first two picks, him going with Jamar Chase and Rashad Bateman, I don't think he needs a third wide receiver right here when Jamin Davis is on the board. So I think Jamin Davis, a second linebacker off the board, goes at this spot. Jamin Davis, like you had brought up earlier, is actually in conversation for the number one linebacker in the class over Micah Parsons.
He is listed right now as the linebacker one on Dynasty League football, but that's just per their expert rankings. That's not any ADP. That's just per about five guys' opinion, right? And I still think it's Micah Parsons at one. I'm super shocked and surprised that we are at the 207 and we're only now getting our second IDP off the board, because I had really expected that we were going to see more IDPs come off the board a little bit earlier in the second round. But if he's getting Jamin Davis at the 207, I think that's a fantastic value. And his team needs linebackers. He's got the worst linebackers per your spreadsheet in the league. And I wouldn't be totally shocked if he addresses linebacker at the 2.01. But him getting a linebacker here, especially a linebacker like Jamin Davis at the 2.07, I think is a fantastic value for him. Do you have any other comments on that pick at all?
Just bringing back up how the conversation goes back and forth between Jamin Davis and Parsons on who's one and who's two. In the metrics we have, Micah Parsons has his elite speed, and Jamin Davis actually, he's a little slower, but he tested out to be stronger. He tested out with a higher vertical. He just tested out better in a few metrics over Micah Parsons. And Jamin Davis is also going to the football team, who has Ryan Kerrigan retiring. So I think situation-wise, I like Jamin Davis's situation better, just because the Cowboys also drafted another wide receiver or another linebacker whose name's escaping me later in the draft.
Right.
So again, the discussion's back and forth on one or two, but I think Jamin Davis goes down here.
I've got uh Jamin Davis hits on 8 of my markers for linebacker. Michael Parsons hits on 11. And the only other thing I'm going to say about Micah Parsons is that per PFF, he had a 94.8 run defense grade in 2019, because we all know he opted out of 2020. That is the highest ever recorded by a college linebacker ever. So again, I think Micah Parsons is the linebacker one, but getting Jamin Davis down here at 2.07, I think is a good value. So let's move on to Vontae Mack, no matter what. Caden Tubbs, that is a fantastic name. And if you have not seen Draft Day with Kevin Costner and Chadwick Boseman, shame on you, because I don't care what anybody says. That is a fantastic movie. That is just a fantastic movie. So many quotable lines. And is it a perfect movie? No, but Vontae Mack, no matter what, at 2.08, you have him taking.
Yes, this is actually his first pick in the entire draft down
Yes.
here. And I have him going with Dyami Brown. His first his team needs a running back, linebacker, safety, wide receiver. But with the first two linebackers coming off the board, Michael Carter already being taken, and we're still kind of in that weird running back drop off. I have him going wide receiver, hitting Dyami Brown. He goes to Washington. He's got a little more of the outside receiver type than Curtis Samuel. So him opposite of Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel in the slot. That Ron Rivera offense could be interesting. I like Dyami Brown here.
Yeah, I agree. Dyami Brown has a May ADP of 20 overall. So that is the 2.08. And there's some other options there at wide receiver. Like you could take in the same range, you could take an Amon-Ra St. Brown, you could take an Amari Rogers, you could take a Nico Collins, you could take a Dwayne Eskridge, kind of just depending on personal preference. But I don't fault anybody for taking Dwayne Eskridge here. Washington football team has said they really want to open the offense up. They want to air it out a little bit. I think that's going to benefit Terry McLaurin. It's going to benefit somebody like a Dyami Brown. It's going to benefit Curtis Samuel. It's going to benefit all of those pass catchers there with Fitzmagic throwing the ball around. He's kind of a gunslinger. And so I'm not sure that that's the direction a Michigan fan is going to go at the 2.08 with Nico Collins sitting on the board, but I couldn't fault somebody for taking Dyami Brown at the 2.08.
I want to say, you can't quote me, but I want to say I heard that Ryan Fitzpatrick has only not lost to two teams, and Tampa Bay is one of them, and they play this year. So Ryan Fitzpatrick is only two teams away from losing to every NFL team, if that's correct.
Oh, okay, so he hasn't lost to Tampa Bay ever.
Correct. He still needs to lose to two teams to lose to them all, and Tampa Bay is one of them, and they play this year.
So you heard it here first, guys. Washington football team is going to beat the reigning Super Bowl champions in 2021. At the 2.09, we have win, lose, or booze back on the board. He basically controls the entire second half of the second round with the 207, 209, 211, and 212. So this is his third pick in the second round. He still has two more picks to go. This is the pick that he got from D's Nuts. And who are we going with for win, lose, or booze at the 2.09?
So, like you brought up, he's had a few picks already. He's got a few left. He's touched on a couple of his needs at wide receiver and linebacker already. So further down his team need list is quarterback. I have him taking Zach Wilson off the board. We don't know if Mac Jones is the starter yet. Everyone can say yes, everyone can say no with Cam still there. But what we do know is Zach Wilson starting for the Jets. He was the second quarterback off the NFL board. And it's a new regime. Adam Gase isn't there, and he was pretty much like the fantasy killer.
Right.
So, one of this guy's many picks in the first 2 rounds, I have him taking Zach Wilson.
Yeah, Zach Wilson's ADP is 7 spots higher than Mac Jones. So we see Zach Wilson coming off the board at 19th overall, which is the quarterback 4. It makes sense that he would go Zach Wilson right now. He does have the 7th best quarterback roster in the league based on your spreadsheet. I could see him doubling down on linebacker here and maybe picking up, like a Koromoa or a Zaven Collins or something like that. But yeah, Zach Wilson at the 2.09, I think does definitely make sense. He is the 2.7 in ADP. So him coming off the board at 2.09, I think is some good value for Kenny at the 2.09. So we are back up at the 210 with I'm tanking. This is his second pick in the second round. This is his actual pick. And who do you have Taylor taking at 210?
So I have him. He's already addressed team needs at quarterback and running back. So I have him just grabbing a receiver here off the board with Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver out of California. There's been talk so far that the Lions are kind of moving him throughout the field in camps and workouts. So kind of like a XYZ weapon is what they're wanting to make him at least.
Right.
He got drafted in the 4th round, but in a year where kind of all the players went in random spots, you never know. And he is walking into a situation kind of like we brought it before, where it's just shambles at the wide receiver room. They have, Tyrell Williams, they got Rashad Perriman, they drafted Sage Surratt late. I think they signed another free agent. So, our wide receiver 1 job for the taking. And Jared Goff just got there, and we know he can support Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp production along with, a Higbee. So that's at least room for 3 targets outside of whatever DeAndre Swift can garner. So point being, wide receiver job is wide open there. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is not a bad pick here for I'm taking.
Yeah, I don't mind that pick. That Detroit wide receiver room is trash. So he definitely has opportunity. I think he could see some good volume there. I think if I'm in these like back half of the second round draft picks, I'm probably just trading out at this point. I think it really kind of falls off a cliff in around 2.6, 2.7. I think he should probably be taking IDP here because, again, we just talked that he has the 12th worst linebacker room in the league. Just taking Jamin Davis at the 2.07 is not going to fix that. He should probably double down on linebackers here or just trade out of the spot altogether. But yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think he's going to have volume and opportunity, and those are always good for fantasy football. So now we're going to wrap up with the final 2 picks in the second round of this mock draft. Both are win, lose, or booze. And who are his last 2 picks going to be?
So this man has addressed a lot of his team needs, wide receiver, linebacker, quarterback. So I think with the first of the last 2 picks, he goes with Nico Collins, wide receiver out of Michigan. He went to the Texans. That whole organization is a mess right now. Whether Deshaun Watson does come back or not, if he doesn't, they got Nico Collins, and their wide receiver room is a bunch of randoms outside of Brandon Cooks, who's a bruise away from being a vegetable. So Nico Collins has another wide receiver kind of outside body frame that we like to look at. And if Deshaun Watson does come back and can't get out of the Texans organization, then we
Right.
know that he can support, an air attack. So just down here at this pick, I think Nico Collins goes to him at the 211.
Right. Yeah, and just real quick, I was actually I wasn't thinking on the last one. We were talking about I'm tanking, and I was making comments about what win, lose, or boost should do.
Oh,
So I was a pick ahead of myself there. No biggie. But yeah, Nico Collins at the 211. He has an ADP of 21, ranking of 21 overall right now with the 20.9 ADP. Wide receiver 11. Wide receiver 12 off the board. Sorry, he's ranked 23rd with an ADP of 24.9. Wide receiver 12 off the board. You're right. He does have that alpha profile at 6'4", 215 that we look for. He had no production in college because as a Michigan fan, I can tell you we have no quarterback ever. And so his production in college suffered because our offense is just trash, thanks to Jim Harbaugh. But that's a conversation for another day. But I like Nico Collins and his opportunity in Houston at the 211. So with the final pick in the mock draft, who do you have Kenny Williams taking at the 212?
so back end of the second round here, I could see him either grabbing a third linebacker to come off the board, but I put Mac Jones in here just because personally I think Mac Jones could have gone above Zach Wilson. And so maybe in another mock he could have skipped the Zach Wilson pick and got Mac down here. But just because QB was I think his quarterback room, he has Tua, Jared Goff, and then what, Jacoby Brissett and Keenan Allen. So he could probably dump Brissett and Keenan Allen if he were to go with Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. And Mac Jones, though he's not mobile, he's got that not fragile, but he's got that statue arm that Belichick has been running with for the past 20 years. And Josh
Right.
McDaniels has been running with for the past 20 years. And they went out and spent some money in free agency to bring in all these, they brought in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. They brought in Nelson Aguilar. They get a lot of their defense that opted out from COVID back. So the Patriots still have a Super Bowl contention roster. It's just they have the hole at quarterback, which I think there's the discussion that Mac could start week 1 over Cam, and there's a discussion that it could be Cam over Mac. So I think
Yeah,
he doubles up on quarterback here and goes Zach and Mac.
I know Belichick hates rookie quarterbacks. I don't know how he's not starting over Cam from day one, but I don't think Bill's going to do that. So I think that's a good pick for him at the 212, which he got from my team. And something that we don't see here in this mock draft is he also has the 3.01 pick. So he has the very next pick in the draft. If we were continuing this mock draft into the third round, he'd also have the very next pick. He's got 4 picks in like the last 5, finishing the last of the second round and the beginning of the third round. So he can definitely load up here, fix his team pretty quickly. I would again like to see him go linebacker, but he could also do that with the 3.01. So,
and like we both kind of mentioned how this draft class is kind of weird. With that many picks, he could also try to flip some for future picks and see what he can do towards next year's value and into the
right.
because next year's supposed to have a lot of defensive players too if you wanted to grab some more defensive pieces.
Yeah. Or, just, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, he can trade out of the back half of the second round altogether. He can draft some IDP here, which is what I would probably like to see him do. He's definitely got some options. I think it depends on if he wants to push his rebuild off another year, or if he just wants to jump into it this year and take the best of what's available to him. So before we get out of here, Justin, is there anything else that you would like to mention about this draft or this draft class?
Mm, nothing that's gonna come to me off the top of my head. Anything that's been spit out already is kind of how I'm feeling on players' landing spots, good or bad.
Right.
Like I said, I've already been through a year of Mega. I just haven't gone through the draft because I joined day before league started.
Right.
So
That
this
was
is
that
my
was kind of a weird situation,
yeah.
but
So this is my first draft. Thankfully, I enjoyed it. I enjoy trading, so I've been able to make some moves and shore up. Like my quarterback room was like bottom tier, and now it's I think I have the best quarterback room starter wise just by our value. I made moves and got a couple receivers with Jefferson and Terry. I didn't mind paying up for Terry, by the way. I don't know if anyone saw like
right.
the fat amount I said. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So it's like I enjoy trading. I like building my team in different ways, and I figured I would use this first experience draft to fuck up a little bit.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, and I don't even have a pick in this draft until the fourth round. Um, I kind of sold out last year to uh, win everything, and I
Yeah,
did.
it worked.
And but at the expense of not being able to draft until the 4.02, which is my first pick, and then I pick again at the 4.11, the 411. So I'm going to be sitting and waiting, watching everybody else have fun while you guys are all drafting. But um, let's let's keep this short as possible and let's wrap this episode up. So with that said, I just want everybody to remember anyone can be cool, but awesome takes practice. All right, I will catch you guys all.
Wake up and piss excellence.
Right, absolutely. I will catch you guys all on the next episode, and we will see you guys soon.
Cool.